two. Welcome to Earth 2 Comic Cast, where superheroes exist and comic book talk is the norm. It's your host, Mo Crosby. I am back. Wait, I've said that so many times this year. We're back. We're not doing a ranking show today, as you can see with the guys on the show. We're not doing a ranking show. I'm back with Ray and Roy. Yes, and we're going to be talking headlines from 2021 in a new show we call Weekly Roundup. So the first couple of things that we're going to touch on is like trailers that happened or trailers we saw, things that we're expecting to happen in 2021. I wasn't privy to the fact that the Arrowverse was going to be dropping a new show this year, and until when we did what were we discussing? WandaVision.
WandaVision, yeah.
Right, and it was like, hey, by the way, the Arrowverse is dropping or dropped a trailer for Lois and Superman New Adventures, and I was like, what? They already did that because Supergirl is ending, I think, this year, and so it's a spin-off from Supergirl because that's the first time.
So it's properly ending, not getting canceled.
See, go ahead.
It's canceled with enough chance for them to wrap it up. Like they were told at the beginning of the season, it was their last season,
Right?
Not like
right.
We're canceling it, and we're gonna. So they get an opportunity to give closure to the characters and the storylines and stuff.
Right. Just like with Arrow, how that was like done, canceled. It was over, but
So
yeah.
like, I can't. I like the idea of the Arrowverse, but like, I basically tapped out while there were two shows still, The Flash and Arrow. And like,
Wow.
it wasn't so much a tapping out as in like, I just stopped watching The Flash, which was the last one I kept watching, and it wasn't because I didn't enjoy it, just I didn't have time. The other issue is I was living in the UK. I don't have cable TV. You know, like there's no way for me to legally watch it like without paying money.
Can you get CW?
Doesn't it come on Netflix UK?
The Flash is not on Netflix UK.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Wait,
I can double check, but it's never been recommended to me on Netflix UK because otherwise I probably would have caught up. I think it's on Amazon Prime, but Amazon Prime is a nightmare to use. I hate using Amazon Prime. I think it's on Amazon Prime.
Maybe only in the UK. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But
is it Netflix in the US and Canada, I think?
Yeah. I basically stopped watching The Flash, not because I disliked it or anything. It's just a new season started, and I was like, I can't be asked to go hunt down like a download or whatever. Like, this is just too much effort. Can you just imagine the world we live in right now, where like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we'd just be like, oh, we're pirates, whatever. Now we're just so like well fed that we just kind of like, I can't be asked to download this.
Yes. Now. Like,
I basically stopped watching The Flash before that, but I tapped out of Arrow way before that. Arrow was just like way too much for me. I think it was at the end of some season when Ra's al Ghul killed him or whatever, and I was like, all right, that's it. That's a perfect end for me. I'm stopping right there. I did not.
Ra's did kill him, and he ended up coming back, killing Ra's, becoming.
I hated that show.
Then his sister was like Ra's al Ghul's apprentice for a while or whatever, right? So
because technically that was his daughter. It was just weird.
He wanted to be Batman so bad, but then he was like super melodramatic, and like every time they would flash back to that island, I'd want to like just like stab my eyeballs out. It's like, who thought like it would be great to have a flashback for however many seasons this is, where he's on the island. Oh, wait. He actually left the island. He actually came to his city.
And then went back to the island. Actually, it's like, I think after season 5, they stopped doing flashbacks and started doing flashbacks.
I stopped way before that.
I'm sorry. I liked Arrow, and I think Patrick would tell you how he sat and watched Smallville all the way through, even though he knew at some point
Smallville was trash. And Patrick likes trash in that situation. So like, I will give Arrow this. I'll give Arrow this. Every single person on that show was ridiculously attractive. That's about it. That's about
true.
it. They had good looking.
And that's the CW formula, right?
Really, because if you watch what's the name of the show, Rich, the one on Riverdale, right? Archie,
right.
Everyone on that show,
Riverdale,
right?
The 100.
I want us to
that's
check out. I watched
their
the
formula.
pilot for Supergirl, but again, I don't have a way to really watch it yet, so I just never got into it. I'd like to watch Supergirl. Superman's my favorite comic book character. I'd like to watch the new show. You know,
if you, and I'll say this to you: if you like Superman and you've not liked what DC as a whole, Warner Brothers has done with the character, if you watched Supergirl and the Superman from Supergirl, you would absolutely. Our mascot just came in and went out. You would absolutely love what they do with the character on that.
I'm down with that. It's a matter of making
time and trying to find it.
Time because I can't speak for you guys, but I'm at a point in time in my life now where like if I need to watch a show, that is a very large investment for me. You know, like if I watch this show and I decide I end up not liking it, I feel like I've wasted hours of my time. And I've done that with so many shows. I tried like what was it? Was it 1 or 2 seasons of Supernatural? I tried 2 or 3 seasons of Fringe. Like I tried all these shows, and it's like I'm never getting that time back. Yeah, I watched however many seasons of Arrow, and I did, and I was like, okay, no, you know, like I think the closest I've gotten, I think Black Lightning was on Netflix, and I watched like the first 2 seasons, and I didn't stop again because like I didn't stop because I thought it was bad or anything. It was just I lost interest.
Oh, by the way, but also Black Lightning ends this season, which will be his 4th. Black Lightning ends this season, and it also gets a spinoff. I think Killer, what's his name? Painkiller.
Okay.
Either it's Painkiller also. So that's another thing. So CW is, while shows are ending, I think Stargirl is going to be the new tentpole, the new big show because that for some reason had amazing success.
I worry about that show as well because, like, I like the character, and Jeff Johns did a good job with that character at inception.
Because
like, there's quite a lot about Jeff Johns' writing and body of work that I don't like. Like, I like his Green Lantern stuff, all the way up to like Blackest Night or like right before that. Great. But anything else he's touched outside of that or after that, I'm just kind of like, I can't deal with this guy. Like, you did a great job with Hal Jordan. That's about it. You know, so like it's possible. I hope Stargirl is fantastic.
No, it actually really is, and I think it is because he is not involved in it, and I think look, and I love Jeff Johns, right? He's my guy, but in terms of like when it comes to like that medium, TV and movies, everyone, I feel like every talented person has their limit. And he's either not ready for it yet or he's just not, that's just not his thing.
I don't think it's
well, he's been doing movies and TV long enough that he should be good at it now if he's going to be good at it. So
well, there we go then. I just think maybe it's not his lane.
It's possible, but like I worry if I pick up anything that has Jeff Johns on it now. It's like I worry. It's like it's hit or it's really hit or miss for me. So it's like
speaking of Jeff Johns, right? This is something else from the headlines, real quick. Speaking of Jeff Johns, I don't know if I really want to talk about this, but Ray, quick question: can you get the CW app?
Let's check my phone.
Because if you can, the shows come on the day after, and you can watch them there. But I don't know if they have like prior seasons, but I know for a fact as they go on TV, the next day it's on the app. So if you can, that's one thing. But speaking of Jeff Johns, I've tried to avoid this topic a lot because it's still something that is unfolding. I mean, we had a huge where we thought, we'd kind of like seen the end of it, but then there's this huge thing from Ray Fisher that dropped, and it kind of exposed a couple things, and then there was a voice note that he dropped, and recording, and it was just, and I read his. I don't know. Did any of you happen to read his thing that he put on Twitter about
Ray Fisher or Jeff Johns?
Ray Fisher.
Oh, I read the whole Ray Fisher T. Yes.
And I sat down with it, and I'm like, okay, so there's not there's still not enough, or he's still not saying what really transpired, but he's saying enough, like, oh well, things happened. He's still on the things happened, and I'm not gonna sit by and just let people, at this point besmirch him, because hey, listen, it's him versus Hollywood. Him versus the big boys.
I'll say this about the whole Ray Fisher thing. Like, I don't know too much about what's going on, but what I've gathered from everything is like he's raised a bunch of like flags that based on what I've seen is like, oh dude, chill, what the fuck ever. But at the same time, like, he is a black guy, and that does happen to black people.
Right.
So
right.
I haven't looked into it, so I can't really form a cogent and solid opinion.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too, because it's like, if we go back to what's John Boyega in Star Wars,
they did that man dirty.
Yes, when and then if you go, there was this other movie, I think, the one with Vince Vaughn, where they went on a vacation, the couples went on a vacation, and on the international posters, they took the black couples off of it. I can't remember the name of the movie. So there is a history of things happening like that in Hollywood, and it's not being, like, I think in recent years, none of it has been going quiet anymore. No one is keeping quiet about it. My thing is, I want Ray Fisher to come out and just be like this.
Honestly, that's it. Like, if you really have something, just dump it. Stop.
Because again, like I said, there's a lot that has happened in Hollywood that's not quiet anymore. The biggest being John Boyega in recent history, being John Boyega, and you remember, we all saw the posters. Yeah. We all saw the posters. It was in Times Square, blasted, right? But then you went to China, and he was off of it. He didn't. And then I saw the post, and the reason why I was excited to see The Force Awakens, because I was like, we get, it looks, and then you saw the trailer, and then he opens a saber, and I'm like, it's him. He's the one the Force is awakening in, right? And then you watch the movie, and then you watch 3 movies later, and nothing, no saber, nothing with him. And I'm like, I felt kind of cheated in that regard.
I'm the worst person. I'm the worst person to talk about Star Wars.
We're not going into Star Wars. I'm just saying that to say this. I wish Ray would just come out and be like this, boom, and stop saying things happen. I can't really so that's why I'm at with it. I want him to just come out and say this is what happened. And I mean, I'm not saying I don't believe him, because again, we there's a track record in Hollywood.
Right.
I would just rather you come out and be like, I mean, you've already damn near lost your career. I mean, they wrote him out of the movie The Flash.
Right. If you're gonna lose your career, just
do it. Just go out.
It's not even about his. In my opinion, it's not even about his career. Like, if something did happen for the sake of other black people in Hollywood, put it on the table.
Other black people are going to be working with Warner Brothers. Like, let us know. Like, let them know. I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, Roy.
No, I was just saying it could be at this point like legal issues. He could just be. It's at a point where if he says more, he could open himself up for libel suits. And who wants to fight both the Warner Brothers and one of their major executives, right? Like,
right.
I'm sure some lawyer has told him, here's the amount you can say before you open yourself up to lawsuits, and you really have to litigate this. And it could be that he does not have enough like concrete evidence beyond his own testimony to make this, and he doesn't want to get in a lawsuit. Like, that's where I would be at this point, where he doesn't want to get in a lawsuit with Warner Brothers, or he signed something to a point where he can't say beyond a certain point, right? And so we're going to just get most of this by implication. I mean, and that's sort of where I sit. Like, I definitely believe him. Like, as a white guy, like, that's basically all I'm in a position to say is, like, I believe him, and yeah.
Right. I too believe him. Again, I can't. Knowing everything we know about the business, you can't sit here and be like, it definitely didn't happen. I mean, I don't know Jeff Johns personally from a can of paint, but I'm not gonna sit here and be like, he accuses Jeff Johns of being Jeff Johns and Walter of being enablers, while mainly accusing Joss of being.
I was about to say, wasn't he accusing Joss Whedon also? Like,
yeah, Joss was the actual. Go ahead.
So his last Twitter post was a little like kind of changed the narrative a little bit, right? Because the initial reports were very like Whedon was like, it was like 90% Whedon,
and then everyone else
10% everybody else.
Yeah,
enabled him. Now it's more like Whedon was a POS and was enabled by the executive, and then Johns was the one that was like explicitly racist. So like that's what the Twitter.
Oh yeah, that's
at least the impression I got
on the notes that he
was,
posted, and it was crazy. And I'm like, wow, like I personally would want it to happen, but again, as you said, it could be a thing where he can't really like talk about it, and because he can't talk about it, we're just gonna have to keep weeding it until eventually, sometime in the future, something comes out. Speaking of WB, one thing I wanted to talk about before we got into like the actual, major topic that we're gonna do today is trailers. Movie trailers are dropping. It's today we got Godzilla versus Kong, GVK, Dawn of Monsters. I haven't seen the full trailer. I've seen a little bit of it, but by what I'm seeing again, which was my complaint that we were talking about before we came on. My major complaint from King of Monsters was human beings are going to be pushing things to happen. Like the monsters aren't just going to fight because monsters are fighting. It's going to be human beings pushing things to happen, and then the monsters collide. It looks like it's going to be 3 major fights. They fight the first fight, and then there's a second fight, and then there's a big bad where both monsters come together and have to.
They basically just gave that away in the trailer, didn't they?
It was like I saw it was like 2 minutes and 50 seconds. I'm like, at this point, do you think Warner Bros. Because I feel like they're going to keep doing that because they're dropping their movies day HBO Max in the movies. So that's something we are going to address. But this is the question: do you think Warner Brothers cares at this point doing that? Because to them, they already know that you're going to see this movie one way or the other.
I mean, the last movie was not so great, so I don't know that I'm going to see this movie one way or the other.
I mean, there is a school of trailer that is like, you need to get like that. If you think the audience is going to be skeptical, you should give them like a basic overview of what the movie's going to be. Right. So they get a sense of what they're going to get. Right. Mm-hmm. And like, if you look at like the Spider-Man Homecoming, right, like everything but the twist of exactly who Michael Keaton is revealed in the trailer. Right. Like, is pretty much right. And that movie was massively successful because they were afraid. Sony was afraid people were sick of Spider-Man. Right.
Right.
And,
I mean, people kind of were, but.
People kind of were, right? And like there's other trailers like that where they go away like a lot of the movie and still really successful. Mm-hmm. So because they want the audience to be like, oh, okay, I understand what's going to happen here.
So I mean, and I think the movie for monster enthusiasts, right? If this, because this is who the movie's for. It's for people that grew up watching Godzilla, people that watch Kong, and watch the earlier iterations of that before it came to the West. Because we've gotten two King Kong movies, right? The Peter Jackson one, and then the remake of Kong. Did you guys see? Wait, or is it 3?
I remember one where he fought like a dinosaur while falling down like some vines, and then I remember one where he was fighting against humans for some reason. I can't.
Well, there's the
I can't separate. I know Samuel L. Jackson was in one of them. I can't separate which movie is which.
He's in every movie, by the way. But no, he was in the one that looked like it came from like the Vietnam. It looked very Vietnam looking.
Yeah, there was a very Vietnam looking one. Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, that one was more like classic Kong. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the most recent one, and that's the most recent.
Right. That's the one that ties into this Godzilla movie.
Yes, that's the one they're kind of yes. That's the WB one, and it's going to be into it. So, yeah,
the MonsterVerse one.
Yes. I hate that. It's a whole entire MonsterVerse. And if this movie works, I don't see why they'll stop. I don't think they're going to stop because, in my opinion,
what other monsters are there aside from like the other Godzilla monsters?
Because you did King of Monsters already, and you had Mothra be like a good guy, and
you had Mothra and Ghidorah, and like it was Ghidorah, right?
Yeah, King. Yes, and then You had the
You've already brought out the penultimate
Cloverfield.
Godzilla
They have to
monsters.
team up to defeat Cloverfield. There you go.
you know what? I think yes. Matter of fact, when the first Kong dropped, right? It kind of those monsters he was fighting, the one in this universe, looked very Cloverfield-esque, and so people thought, because the trailers, again, those trailers did a good job of not showing too much. All you saw was the little claw. I think also when the first Godzilla dropped, the one with Bryan Cranston in it, the actual monster he fought looked very Cloverfield. So you might be onto something. You might be getting a Cloverfield in this. I mean, the last Cloverfield movie on Netflix actually absolutely sucked.
I disagree.
Who owns Cloverfield? Is it Warner?
Are you
Is it
talking
Universal?
about Wait.
Cloverfield, like the Paradox or whatever, the one in space.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't seen that one. I thought you were talking about Cloverfield Lane for a second.
No, not 10 Cloverfield Lane. There was a Cloverfield like it happened in space. You know what I'm talking about. It was on Netflix.
I didn't see that one.
Like I haven't seen it yet.
The studio absolutely. So the thing with that movie, right? The studio was like, I don't know if this is gonna work, and so Netflix was like, we'll take it off your hands. And I think it came on after that Super Bowl that year, and that's when that movie came out, and it was horrible. It was horrible. And
I think that is generally the position I have about like Netflix movies. Like every now and then they release a gem, but for the most part, most Netflix movies are not that great.
I mean, we'll talk more about Netflix because I think people. I have some opinions about Netflix about what the decisions that they're making. Like
right, so
that's tied into the movie release stuff.
I think they throw a lot of things at the wall to see what's.
Oh, they do. They definitely do.
Why don't we just go ahead and talk about it now? So the actual topic we were going to talk about was Hollywood moving, where Hollywood thought in 2021 that coronavirus was going to be over and all the dates they have stuck. And for some, like, it was, what, 24 days into the year, and almost every movie has moved its date either to fall or moving out of 2021 totally. And this is where, you know, what happened last year with WB and HBO Max kind of looks good, to where if you didn't like WB for whatever reason, and you didn't like, you know, like you were beefing with them, you didn't want to support them, but somehow you had HBO Max, or you thought you're looking into getting HBO Max, they enticed you, right? They said their whole 2021 slate is going on HBO Max, date release, and so it started last year, Christmas, and the first movie they're dropping this year. Let me see. I remember this.
Godzilla is the first big budget one, right?
Yeah, big budget one. But they're dropping a movie on the 29th with Denzel and what's his name? Rami Malek.
That sounds familiar.
Let me see if I could remember it. The Little Things. Now, I would implore you to go look at the trailer for this movie. It's technically one of the movies, and Jared Leto, it's one of the ones where everyone is looking at that movie and saying this could be contender, during award season.
Right. It's a prestige drama.
Yes. So they're starting, and I like that they're starting with that, right? It's like whatever happened at Christmas, that was last year. Forget about it. We're going to cleanse the palate with something good, maybe good. Who knows? We can't really say for now, but with Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and all award winners, and Jared Leto, hey, come check out our movie. It looks to be really. I've seen the trailers. I've seen a bunch of trailers for the movie, and I'm like, I'm definitely gonna wake up whatever time that comes on. I'm gonna watch it and probably shoot a review for it and put it out there. It looks really, really good. I've said that so many times. So HBO Max and WB have that thing going for them. So those movies are going to be dropping. And Godzilla vs. Kong, Mortal Kombat. Not going to mention, we're going to get a bunch of HBO. Dune, I think, is still one of the ones that it's up in the air. But I think, whatever deal they struck, it's still going to be coming out. So they're movies that if you care about, this before I go into that, let me ask you guys a question. If coronavirus, COVID was kind of under control, what would be the movie that would get you out to the theaters?
Black Widow.
Okay.
Black Widow and the Matrix movie, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, matter of fact, I think Warner Brothers is dropping the Matrix on HBO Max. So now
Yeah, that's one of the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've said this is what we're doing, and I think it's kind of brilliant because now you're looking at other studios, Netflix saying, "Oh, we're gonna do a movie a week, like big movies.
Right.
We're gonna drop a movie a week." That's a thing, where streaming is looking to be king again because we're all stuck at home.
Well, I don't think it's just because we're stuck at home. I think the market is fundamentally changing. Like the tail on DVD purchases doesn't exist anymore. Like people don't even have to buy movies digitally anymore to stream. Even if you don't have like Netflix or whatever, you can pay like $1.50 to rent a digital copy of a movie.
Right.
So like it's just really, really convenient. It's just the way things are going. And the fact of the matter is, when we come out of the other end of this entire COVID situation, like what most people in the movie industry aren't talking about is the fact that like a lot of people are not going to be able to afford to go see a movie. A lot of people that used to be able to go see movies won't be able to afford to go see a movie because they've either had to take pay cuts or they're jobless. So like the only recourse they have is whatever they pay for entertainment elsewhere. They pay for HBO now or whatever it is. That's like $9 a month. And it's significantly cheaper than paying for like 3-4 people to
$40
go
to see one movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's the reason when people were going off about like Mulan being like 30
behind the paywall,
whatever it was. Yeah, behind the paywall. I was kind of like, well, to be quite honest, like if you were going to see Mulan, you were probably going to take a date, or if you're an adult with kids, you're probably going to take your kids. You're probably going to buy snacks and all that. At the end of the day, you're paying way more than that to see it in the theater. Yes, there's something to be said about the experience of seeing it in the theaters. But like, it's still way cheaper than you would pay normally, unless you're the kind of person who just goes to movies on your own, which they do exist.
Right.
I
somebody
don't think it's
Endgame 30 times, so that's.
So like the fact of the matter is like things are pointing that way. It doesn't matter how upset Christopher Nolan gets.
And you know what? All of that. Let's talk about Christopher Nolan. So, inside of COVID in 2020, he had the movie that was supposed to save cinema with Tenet, and that happened.
I think we've made it known how we all feel about
yes.
Nolan.
I mean, So, but I think the movie world and the moviegoer world also made it known because it's like, Tenet looks good, but first of all, I'm not going to risk my health to go see it. People saw it. And then they got reports from their friends and, that saw it and was like, it's good. It's a lot going on. You could just wait.
It's a Christopher Nolan movie. Like, you can just wait for it. It's just another Christopher Nolan movie.
And a lot of the feedback was, well, you could wait for it. You don't have to go see it. If you're flying, if you're flying Southwest, it's on their select list. And so you can see it that way. And it's on, I think, Amazon Prime for $4.99 or Vudu for $4.99. So you're not,
it's on. You can get it on Sony PlayStation now too. Like, I think you can just get it now.
Look at that. So
he's upset about people watching TV, like his movies in settings that are not the theater or whatever.
Right, because you're supposed to watch it super loud.
I can't be asked. I don't feel bad for him. I don't care. Like, you want to watch it on your phone? Watch it on. It's 2021. Like, this is what technology is supposed to do. Make things easier for us. Like, nah. Like, I can't get behind that argument. Yes, there is like being in a theater is a legitimate experience, but it's not because I'm watching it on the screen. It's because like I'm watching it with a whole bunch of, in my opinion, watching it with a whole bunch of people. So like, I can't imagine going to go see a Marvel movie and not hearing the cheering or whatever when certain things happen. Like, yes, I don't want that in certain movies, but like, it's the only reason I'm going to go see it in the theater instead of waiting until it comes out here. Number one, I don't want to get spoiled. Number two, it is an experience. But like, I wouldn't expect that for something like Tenet. You know, like
Yeah,
like what
I
experience is
definitely
Tenet going to give in the theaters that like I'm just not going to be able to get on this TV here in my house when I turn the lights off.
Dolby sound? Like, are you
I
kidding
mean,
me?
you got a
Ultra,
subwoofer down there, like 2 speakers,
ultra, ultra high def 10K.
like,
What are you talking about? Like,
I just
it's that.
I can't get behind this argument. Like
Okay.
maybe it's one of those things where it's like an artist feels a certain way about their art, and that's fair. You know, you're allowed to feel a certain way about your art, but the reality of the situation is you have no control over how people enjoy or perceive your art.
Mm.
So whatever works. And the other reality of the situation is like all these companies that you have to work through, like Warner Brothers isn't sitting like just on a cachet of money just to be like, oh, you know, like we're not releasing anything this year. We're all just gonna sit on our money. Money like is being spent. They have debts. Things need to be paid for. Like you need to recoup money. You know,
Right.
so like
well, AT&T needs to recoup money that they spent on buying Warner Brothers.
AT&T, Disney
I
needs to recoup money for
wasn't
buying
even
Fox.
thinking about that, but absolutely. You know, so like and you have to face the reality and go, well, okay, it's a limited release, and they're also like trying to get money from other sources for this movie. Like, whatever, I accept it. This year was a bust for the movies I wanted to make. That's fine, but he just won't let it go.
Roy,
Yeah.
did you have something you want to add? You want to talk about Netflix? Go ahead and talk about Netflix.
Yeah, I do, because I think what related to Netflix is like what I think a lot of the streaming programs I don't think entirely realize is part of what makes Netflix so successful is it's like middle of the road garbage, like both TVs and movies, that there's just like always stuff to watch on Netflix.
Yes.
And there's a lot of stuff that you can get invested in for like 2 or 3 seasons. And a lot of it's just like mediocre trash. Like a great example of this would be something like The Order or the Society. These kind of like middle of the road.
Order again?
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. I've watched both.
I loved it actually. It's my favorite.
I'm trying to figure out which one that one is.
Oh, it's
the one where they're in college and it's like a magic society, it's a college, but there's a secret society. It's a whole thing. Anyway, all those shows, but they canceled almost all of their middle of the road TV shows,
right?
It's like,
thanks to the Roundup.
And why do you want people to watch your thing? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but like,
no,
consumers will not get invested in your new shows if they expect if I get invested in this show, it's going to get canceled in 2 seasons anyway. Like, it's kind of self-fulfilling.
Right, and that's the problem that they're running into, though. Like, Netflix canceled almost all of its new shows that weren't a runaway hit in 2020. And they canceled a bunch of stuff that had a season in 2020 that was a success or middle of the road success, and on Netflix that would normally have led to a 3rd or 4th or whatever season, but they canceled a bunch of that stuff because they don't want to spend the money to pay for the additional Rona costs to make these shows. Like, a lot of how Netflix works is they get decent content on the cheap, and there's a reason why the Netflix is doing a movie a day, not a TV show like every other week or something like that. It's because they're running out of content, and like that was in the backlog. And that's one of the things that people, I think, don't entirely appreciate about Netflix is that Netflix didn't do a lot of its non-prestige stuff being filmed in 2020. Like Stranger Things got filmed, right? But a bunch of their other stuff doesn't.
Yeah,
and that is, I think, going to end up. I think that for people who love Netflix on television, that's something to be very concerned about. It's like Netflix, I think, should be worried about that a bunch of these like things that keep people tied to Netflix are not going to be there in 2021, and that does create an opening for things like HBO Max and Disney Plus, particularly Disney Plus, which is basically there's a Marvel or Star Wars show for the entire year of 2021.
Yep.
And that's a huge deal and could change things a lot. Yes, Doc.
Right. So we've talked HBO Max and what they're doing and why we think that could work for the year. I'm going to ask a question at the end of it. Do you think HBO Max's model could, as you said, moving forward, what a lot of people haven't considered is will people be willing to go? I think once we come outside at the other side of this thing, I think there'll be an initial rush. Like everyone will want to do everything that they missed for like 2020, 2021. You're going to have people at the end of Rona like going to see every movie or, and then it's going to taper off.
I think at the start, people will go see movies, even if they're mediocre.
And it taper off, right?
I think that's going to fall off sharply. I'm not an economist. I'm speaking, I'm basically theorizing. I think everyone will want to get out of the house, number one. And once they get out of the house, they've seen that first set of movies. Everyone's gonna be like, I can't really afford to go see all these other movies that have been like bunched together. And like, right. I can't afford to go see all the movies I want to go see. The other thing to pay attention to also is like the number of streaming services have like ballooned.
Yes,
like
everybody has a streaming service now.
I have 3 streaming services, and that's 2 streaming services too much.
Yeah, I remember when it was just Netflix and then maybe Hulu, and now it's like Peacock.
I've been trying to cancel Amazon Prime, and my wife went ahead and got Disney Plus, and I have 2 extra ones to go with Netflix, and it's like I'm not getting HBO.
But I think I think it's gonna come to the point.
That's fair. Well, you have a kid though, so Disney Plus is high value.
It's gonna come to the point where you pick your big boy, which is probably gonna be Netflix, and then 2 other like smaller services to it's. Right. I think that's where it's gonna come to when we.
Well, the one thing we have here in the UK is the BBC. For as much as people want, the Conservative Party here seems to want to murder it or break it down or whatever, the BBC is legitimately a very, very good service, like all those nature shows that everyone gets like super happy about in the US. That's done by the BBC here. All the TV shows that like people are like, oh, that's such a great TV show. That's on BBC, and like you can watch it on demand through the BBC app on your TV or whatever. So like, I'm not suffering for content. If I cancel all 3 services, I'll just watch the BBC. Like I pay a license for my TV already. I'll just watch the BBC, and I'll be all right. Some of my favorite shows in the last decades have been straight up just stuff on BBC.
Right. Also, speaking of Disney and speaking of Marvels, or just speaking of Disney as a whole, they didn't drop. I think Disney did Mulan last year, and then they kind of lost a little bit of social capital, but they kind of won that back with Soul. Right. It's one of the things where people are like, oh my God, Soul was so good. It was amazing. So you kind of like win a little bit of that social capital back. Now you and also did too. Yes, a Mandalorian, but you also didn't drop an MCU movie last year. That's the first time I think since what, Avengers?
2009. Since 2009.
That you haven't had a Marvel movie in that year. And I don't know if it hurts them as much, because I don't think it does, because it's still Marvel. I think they still have so much social capital built up.
I think regardless of that, they're definitely like they're not broke. Disney's not going to be broke, but they're probably not getting as much because no one's going to Disney World. No one's going to Disneyland.
And they're not anywhere. The purchase of Fox, I believe, and Hulu still hurts them.
Over-leveraged them. They're over-leveraged. That's stuff that they've said on the investor calls. Like, it's public knowledge that, well, they're Disney, they're too big to fail, but that they are not in the, confident financial position that you think they would be in. Right. And they almost certainly would have been if there had been no Rona in 2020.
Right, because
Disney had an insanely lit film and television slate.
Exactly. I don't see how Black Widow doesn't make $1 billion. I don't see how it doesn't. I don't care what anyone says. At this point, any MCU movie that has that little MCU scroll at the beginning is just go ahead and tag it. Yeah, it's back. Right. So now they're in a pickle where this year I think they have to start releasing movies. They have to drop stuff. Do you think, because Black Widow hasn't moved, its actual date. It's one of the movies that
MCU movies have moved yet.
Yes.
No MCU movies.
So now, do we get it behind a paywall on Disney Plus? Do they do it that way, or do they just say no? We're gonna have people go to the movies for this, or do they move it?
I think we talked about this when we did the WandaVision thing, or maybe you and I just talked about it afterwards.
I think
Disney has this Reina and the Dragon movie coming out in I think 2 or 3 weeks.
Yes.
And they're doing the simultaneous release where they're doing the same Mulan style thing. Where they're
premium paywall and
premium.
stuff.
And if that movie makes them whatever their target amount of money or more is, I would not be surprised if they do Black Widow in May. Because the problem that Mulan had is they literally released Mulan at a time in which it was not a very good movie, and China is really controversial in general, right? Like there's all these things going on with China in the international sphere. So it gave people, there's this bad movie that was partially Chinese nationalist propaganda in a time in which China staged for good and bad reasons is on a low. So now Disney's like, okay, we have the success of Mandalorian, we have the success of Soul. Let's see how this other movie does. And then if it does make them money, then yeah, I think Black Widow will be the test case. Hold on one moment.
Did you have something you want to say, Ray?
I didn't have anything to add to that. He pretty much covered it.
So yeah, I said they are in an interesting position where you kind of have to do one or the other. I'm not going like unless it was a safe environment, unless it was safer. I'm not going out because the movies that would have taken me out of the house, actually. Bond would have taken me out the house. The Matrix would have taken me out the house. So those movies I would have. And A Quiet Place. And this is where I'm stuck, right? Because I
like
saw
the prequel, so like I'm interested in that movie also because I like the prequel a lot.
Right. I saw A Quiet Place in the movies, right? And it was one of those movies. I'm not a movie clapper. I'm not a clapper. I hate clappers. Right? At the end of the movie, I totally hate clappers, but for some reason, after seeing that movie, because of the way it was shot, like it's one of those movies where you didn't hear a word the entire film, where you had to be quiet because you felt like if you said something, the monsters would have attacked you. And the entire movie theater was quiet. It was packed, by the way, quiet. And then at the end of the movie where she shot the alien or whatever, everyone got up and it felt good. And that's the movie theater experience right there. Yeah. And that's what you were saying when you said, like that's the only reason why Christopher Nolan should shut up is people really go for an experience and not necessarily the movie itself.
Yeah.
The Quiet Place to me worked or would have worked because of that. Like, so, but if I'm going to watch it at home, I'm going to get all my friends who've seen it, and one of us who pay for it or whatever, get people over if you're safe and watch it. It kind of takes away from that experience. And that would have been the only movie I would go out to see. So with that said, Disney has an interesting, they're in an interesting position where it's like, hey, they have a test movie, Raya and the Dragon. So if that, let's just for whatever reason that movie isn't successful or doesn't net them what they're expecting, what happens?
Things get moved. I think they will. I mean, because they didn't like Black Widow. Like they haven't. They moved it like 5 times now. It feels like, and there's all these jokes about it may not exist as a movie.
It should also be like
it has to come out.
It should also be like mentioned that like there's a very high chance that Black Widow was never going to make a lot of money to begin with. Because the character is just not as popular.
But she died in Endgame, and people talked about it.
Yeah, and like
I'm sorry,
I remember like going on about
Black
Widow doesn't have a movie yet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the reality of the situation was, to me anyway, was like of all the female characters they could have added to the Avengers, like Black Widow was probably one of the ones that people were least interested in. If that makes sense. So like I worry that the movie was never gonna make that much money, but I'm not in a position where I can really measure that up against anything.
I would have been surprised if it made Ant-Man 2 amount of money, which is good but not fantastic amount of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where the point where like it's enough money that they'll make a sequel, but not like, oh my god, it's one of our most successful movies like Spider-Man or one of the Avengers
to be fair,
Ragnarok or whatever.
I didn't expect Guardians to be popular or make money. Like Guardians is one of those movies where it was like, I know about the Guardians of the Galaxy. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm gonna go see this movie because I do. But like a lot of people went to go see that movie despite not knowing anything about the Guardians of the Galaxy. They love that movie. So it is possible that Black Widow might pull off the same thing. Possible.
And that's what I think. Where it's I'm off. So as much as we had this discussion where the reason I don't know if we had this. The reason we're getting WandaVision as opposed to Winter Soldier and Captain America or that movie, that show first is because there's things that happen in that show or Black Widow and that show kind of tied into each other.
It's possible, very possible.
And if you
the rumor is that and that parts of the plot of Falcon and the Winter Soldier involve things that you don't want after the pandemic, there's aspects of it that, maybe wouldn't work. So they had to reshoot like what the plans of the villains was because it wouldn't fly. So like there was rumors that they're trying to release a virus that's going to kill people is kind of what Bucky and Beth. And who wants to watch a movie about that while there's a virus going on?
Right.
So,
but if so I just feel like if you move that movie again, that puts Falcon and Winter Soldier in a pickle, where it's now do you bring in Hawkeye and his daughter? Do you bring that show in and as like what do you do? What do you do?
But the lady, the blonde Black Widow is confirmed to be in Hawkeye. So like they can't move Hawkeye up because she is in Hawkeye.
And if things are said, so you're in a pickle. So I'm off the. I just say release the movie. It's an MCU movie, and I feel like if you release it, it could be the movie that if Raya doesn't do well, which is again a big if. It's Disney. If Raya, especially because you won so much capital back from Soul, and people are back invested in your animated division. Because to be honest, Pixar hasn't really been much since Cars. Not
Toy Story 3 made a lot of money.
Yeah, Toy Story 3. Pixar hasn't really been the pinnacle of animation because you had Illumination come in and kind of knock them off their base for a little bit. Despicable Me and Minions. Hey, listen, it did.
What's really annoying about that? Like, it's easy for me to be like, about that series of movies, but like I've only ever seen the first. And the first was a legitimately very good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a very good movie.
Yeah, I think
especially for kids, like much like every other Pixar movie for kids, it's a great movie on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've never seen any other ones, but like I'm so tired of them as well.
No, I can't. I don't blame you. And so with all of that,
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say like what I enjoyed about it was the fact that they flipped everything on its head. And like they've already done that. I have no interest in seeing any. You've already flipped it on its head. Like where else?
Right. The villain. Right.
Whatever. Yeah. So.
But honestly, I think I'm just gonna say like if Raya doesn't do well, I just say drop Black Widow, don't move it anymore. Just do it. I think it's an MCU movie and it's going to be able to do what you need it to do in terms of if you put it on Disney Plus behind that paywall. I think people will still because when the plan to move it last year happened, there was a lot of chatter saying, "Hey, just put it. I'll still pay $30 to see it." And I know a bunch of people.
I will.
I was about to say you would. I would too. So just do it. Like, why not? Like, why?
I think one of the best things they can do is like have like a foretell a legacy handoff, like somewhere before or during or whatever. That we be like, okay, there's going to be a new Black Widow, and she shows up in this Black Widow movie, etc., etc. I think that would be something that could get people quite interested.
So you feel
I don't know.
I think that is what this movie is. I mean, like the thing is, I think the problem that Disney had, and one of the things I think that they're in trouble with is like I think they were doing a really good job with the promotion, like back in February, like a year ago, right? Like I was getting excited for this movie. I was like, this is going to be cool. Like it's going to be a cool, like kind of spy Marvel movie. Awesome, cool. And then, Rona happened, and they were like, well, fuck. And they've lost all of that momentum specifically about this movie. But I think this movie, if they stick to it, and whether they do, particularly if they do a Disney Plus release, even if they're charging you $30 and they stick to it, I think people are thirsty enough for an MCU movie that they'll do it. And the impression I get is that WandaVision is pretty popular. Like, a lot of my normie friends are talking about it on social media.
Please let use that word.
So not people who are upset
Exactly.
are sitting on the Marvel spoilers.
You're winning people.
I've heard from people who don't like the Marvel Cinematic Universe about how they like WandaVision. So they do have some pull with people who aren't really interested in MCU stuff. This.
So you have all that going for you. So why not, right? The other studios, I think Bond again moved all the way into
Bond's 2022. Yeah.
No. I think it moved to December.
I thought it moved to January. I thought it moved to this time next year, but it could be December. But that's
they moved to December, or either they moved to December and then moved again to next year, which is annoying at this point. And I know they're losing money just keeping that movie. I know they're losing money keeping that movie. I think at one point they were planning to sell it to Sony or somebody, and it just Sony who decided maybe we don't want to buy it because we have we have Spider-Man, we have Morbius, and they moved. I think Morbius moved next year, and of course Spider-Man has to happen this year.
Yes, it did.
Spider-Man has to happen this year because of the MCU implications and all that good stuff. If those MCU movies drop this year, so we're looking at a world where, again, when things were happening last year and people were moving to 2021, and I was like, you know what, maybe everyone kind of had this feeling that new year, new me, new year, new the virus is gonna be gone, and it's looking like no one really prepared for the what if.
Well, to be quite honest with you, I don't think this has changed anything for me when it comes to going out to go see movies. I think I've seen exactly the amount of movies in theaters that I was seen last year, even if we didn't have COVID. Because I have a 1.5-year-old now.
Okay. Things change.
Well, it's not like I can drop them off with my mom, grandma look after the kid, or my wife can be the same with her parents. Her parents are Australian; they live in Australia. My mom's in the U.S. We're both in the U.K. We don't really have family that we can So I was never gonna go out and go see those movies anyway, unless my wife and I do stuff where we alternate, you go see that movie alone, and then you're watching on a certain day, and I'll go see. Unless we do something silly like that, it's just not gonna happen. So until it's maybe 2, maybe 3, I don't expect it till he's 3 where he can go spend the night over at his godparents or have a proper babysitter that's not us. I don't expect to be seeing movies in theaters anytime soon.
Right. Ray? 2021.
Roy?
Oh, sorry. Oh, wow.
Roy and Ray. I mean, this is the
2021. All right, if let's just the same thing. Where would you have been if things were a lot better? Would you have gone? Would you have seen the same amount of movies that you saw last year? Would you have seen? You said Black Widow.
Black Widow's. I only really go see superhero movies in theaters, because everything else I can just wait. I want to be on top of I don't want to get spoiled. I want to be part of the conversation about the Black Widow or whatever. So I go and see those movies and I enjoy seeing them, right? But so I don't really go see that movies in theaters unless it's similar pop culture-y, all my friends will be talking about it, so I'll go see it, right? So probably last year the only movies that I would have gone to see would be the Marvel plus Bond, I think, right? Or Dune was originally also supposed to come out, right? In Christmas last year. So that's what I would have seen. Going for this year, knock on wood, tomorrow the vaccine opens up for educators in DC. So hopefully I'll be vaccinated. But the question also is, but my wife won't have access to that until in the United States for people who aren't, but we don't know what the transmission is. I might not get it, but I might be able to still carrying the
Yeah, you might still be able to give it
molecules or whatever.
The proto-molecule.
Yeah, whatever with Rona. So like the question is like, how safe is it for a person to, when they're vaccinated but their partners and roommates aren't, for them to be going around doing things?
Right.
So
Right.
I'm still going to be playing it very safe. So even if Black Widow releases and isn't even on Disney Plus, I won't be going to see it unless things like really change, because this is another legacy of the Trump administration. In the UK, the screw ups of the conservative government. Elections have consequences, and not only is there been in the United States close to 500,000 people dead, our economy is disrupted, and our cultural consumption has been disrupted, and also American skepticism of the vaccine is an additional thing. So not only is the federal government messed up in the sense that the vaccine is screwed up and it's not getting distributed in a timely manner, so that's going to take several months for the new administration to sort out. You also have Americans are scared of the vaccine. For some groups, for good reasons, because they have a history of being mistreated by the government and the healthcare industry, and then for other groups because they're nuts, right? Like I don't feel hopeful about 2021, and it being safe to consistently do this thing, even if I'm lucky enough that I'm in a position right now where I will be able to be vaccinated, and my personal chance of getting corona will be going down soon. That doesn't mean our society is going to be a situation where going to the movies is a smart decision.
Okay. Well, so we're here. We've talked for a little bit about what to expect or what we're going to be seeing. I'm still of the school of thought that nobody's going to any movies this year. It's going to be open. I think in California you have theaters open. I think in certain parts of Texas you have theaters open. I think in Dallas, Houston, Dallas. I think maybe in Georgia you have theaters open. But where I'm at, you can't. On the East Coast, there's nothing of those sorts open. Mind you, gyms are open, but that's not open. And
well, I think I can't speak for the U.S., but here in the UK, the last I looked, I can't speak for it right now. There was an inverse correlation between going to the gym and having COVID.
And also, the thing also with gyms is if you are smart, a gym experience, that's like an hour maybe, and if you do social distancing where you're active but compared to a movie theater again where you're sitting your ass down right next to people and the air is circulating, it's just like movie theaters, people, I got sick at the movies. I go to a movie, on Wednesday, and then I'm feeling sick on Friday with a cold because you're shoved in with a bunch of people, even with distancing, in a poorly ventilated, dark room. A movie theater is not an experience to have.
Any person that's ever been to a convention, knows exactly how that is. We get home, you get consars.
You get that.
Consars, I agree. The social experience I enjoy the most is going to gaming conventions, and game tournaments. I really enjoy that. But that shit is some of the least safe stuff that you're going to be doing. We should not be doing that stuff until 2022 at the earliest, if we ever do it again. That's the other thing. Are conventions a good idea ever again? The same way that
with what DC did with the fandom, it's kind of was a success. You call it what you want. I don't know if Comic-Con was a success, but I know, I don't think San Diego was, because no one really talked about it. But at some point, San Diego was fading out because it was the whole convention, and anything anyone ever cared about, anything people ever talked about was called H. Those days where either Disney would be there or and Marvel doesn't go anymore because they do D23 with Disney. And so Warner Brothers would go, maybe. I don't think Warner Brothers would be going anymore because they have Disney fandom, and so you'd get very a trickle as opposed to what maybe 5 years ago when everyone would go to all age, and so the conventions aren't what they used to be. Honestly, like I said, I don't think we're gonna get that experience.
I think I'll have to disagree a bit on that. I think I can't. Okay, so I'm not disagreeing that and like Comic-Con is fading out. But I do believe that like the big players not being in all Hall H gives room to other smaller
Yes.
pieces to be able to show the good stuff that they're working on as well. And I think that in my opinion is also a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Actually,
Go ahead.
Comic-Con was doing like Comic-Con, whether or not its cultural cachet was declining, Comic-Con still, like, it became an experience that people wanted to have.
Yes.
And it was doing really well, and it was on track for Rona to be the largest Comic-Con ever in 2020. So, like, but the question for me, like, is like there's nothing I would want more than like being able to go to Gen Con 2021, right? Which is like my favorite convention to go to. But like, again, is that
it's a tabletop one, isn't it? Not tabletop.
It's a tabletop one, yeah.
I mean, but like,
yeah, well, but it's every type of gaming. That's not computer gaming.
Yeah.
So cards, board, whatever.
Yeah, that's tabletop is what I meant. Yeah. So like D&D and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, D&D, Magic, all that stuff. How Patrick makes his money. It's the and the question is are things like that a wise decision? Like, I would get sick every year that I went to Gen Con. When I went to Baltimore Comic Con regularly. Like,
I'll put it this way, I'm too old now. Like, I'm gonna be 40 this year. Like, I can't be getting consars anymore.
yeah. Now that consars and escape
anymore. I'm not even seeing it anymore. Like,
it's escaped the cons now. It's a worldwide thing.
It used to be that you'd be sick for 3 days. Now when I get sick, it's like for a week and a half. Like, you know what? Nah, it's not worth all that.
Right. But so, in all honesty, I again, for Disney, I hope something happens, because it's May and we're sitting here and it's almost the end of January. Like, listen, January has moved really, really quick, and
a lot's happened.
Yeah.
Yes. So
that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, let's just say that way.
A lot has happened. Hopefully, less happens next month.
Hopefully, right? One can only hope at this point. But I mean, again, I'm looking at the slate of movies dropping this year, and there's some gems, and there's some movies that we got Fast 9 coming also in May, right? That's the thing.
I don't. Okay. Sorry. I don't know why I watch those movies,
but
in fact, I don't know how they got a third movie after those first two movies. But like, they come on and I watch them.
Listen, I don't blame you. It's like me and Roy watching The Order, knowing that like the acting is so bad, but something about the show just keeps you in there, and that's just what it is. So, listen, I think I am also, I have asthma, so for me to put myself in certain situations where I've been super careful. Like, anytime I cough a little bit, I get a little scared.
Yeah, I feel you.
Listen, I wake up in the morning and I was like, wait, was I feeling this way when I went to sleep? Like, every time I go like to the grocery store and come back home, and I just feel a little itchy throat. It's listen. But
I feel you.
I can smell my food. I'm still good.
Right. I start checking my temp. I bought a thermometer. I put it under my tongue.
Wow.
No, it's real. I have a.
Hey, Montgomery County offers free COVID testing, no questions asked. So we've gone twice when I've had scares about that.
Yes,
I thought you were in DC. You're in Maryland?
Yeah, I'm in Montgomery County. Yeah, I'm in Silver Spring.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah, so the last time I got scared, which was last year, I was like down for like 3 days. I wasn't sure what it was. I ran to go get tested, and then it came out negative, and I was like, great. Let's not feel that way again. I had the O2 where I put my thumb in to check my O2 saturation, and all, like, it's serious over here. So
it's scary shit.
It is like, because you don't know what it is. And so right now, where there are people who want to go to the movies, and the certain theaters or certain states have theaters open and all of that stuff, I would rather today watch all my movies at home. I got a new TV. I got a bigger 4K TV. I got a huge TV, so it that's why I did that. I
Gotta
spent
put it to use.
I spent that money because I think
Because you can't go to theaters.
yeah. So the reason I did that was because Patty Jenkins has said they made Wonder Woman to be like on the biggest screen. You have to watch it like damn near 8K, and watch it on the best experience. So I was like, you know what, my Xbox.
About that movie.
Not talking about the movie. I was like, we're not gonna talk about that movie. I was like, my Xbox. I have a 4K. I have a 4K player at the house. My Xbox. So why not put it to use with my TV, new TV I'll get? So that's if I can get all those experiences on at home, and I loved it. I loved it because I watched it at night. I turned lights off. I had popcorn in my hand. Recline my little seat. Turn the volume all the way up. Yeah. What am I missing, people? Okay. Next time I'll do that, I'll call you guys.
we'll hit play at the same time.
At the same time, and I think
it's really funny because my wife and I at some point we were in a long distance relationship because we're both.
So you did that.
We literally did that. We would watch things on Netflix or whatever. We count
Yeah. My wife and I did the same thing when we did long distance. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we did. We went to. We would also go to movies that had the same start. So we went and saw Jurassic World that way. Where we both went. She went to a 4:00 show in Boston. I went to one at 4:00 in New York. We also did Terminator, and what was the other one? Oh yeah, Fantastic Four.
Wait, Fantastic?
Yeah, the one with Michael B. Jordan and whatever.
Oh, he redeemed himself so great playing Killmonger.
I've never seen that movie. Was it legitimately worse than that other Fantastic Four movie?
Infinitely worse.
It was worse.
Really?
It was worse than Silver Surfer, and that's a lot to say. It was worse than Silver Surfer. I like Silver Surfer because I like Silver Surfer, but that movie.
I didn't see the second one.
No, it's legitimately one of the worst superhero movies of all time.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's worse than Superman 4. We're talking about these dredge movies.
Bad.
Yeah,
it didn't
oh my
make
god
a lick of sense. It didn't make a lick of sense. It
didn't make a lick of sense. It was awful to its characters, all of them.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
The worst part to me was
who's the director on that?
Who
was the director on that?
Oh crap! Who was the director?
Was it Colin Trevorrow? No, that's the guy who does the Jurassic World movies.
Was it?
Who did the script?
Hold on, let me pull this up. I think it could have been Colin Trevorrow or whatever his name is.
No, he was the one that they pulled off of 9, off of what is now Rise of the Skywalker or Rise of Skywalker, not the Skywalker. Jesus, Rise of Skywalker. I always add the.
Yeah. He was the one they pulled off that movie. Fantastic Four, not Rise of the no Fantastic Miles Teller. Yeah, I'm forever gonna call it Fantastic. Jesus, 9%. Who directed?
It's not even. It's so good. It's bad.
Josh Trank.
Josh Trank. Right.
Okay.
Right. The guy who did he was an indie director.
Yeah, he was, and they put him on this mess, and he took it. Who did the story for this? Let's see who wrote this story. Simon Kinberg, and Josh Trank.
Okay.
And that's why
I remember I kept thinking of some Max Landis
no.
That was Chronicle.
Yeah, that was Chronicle.
Josh Trank and Landis were both on that.
Right. And that's why people were like, "Yo, okay, he's pretty good."
Except he's not.
Yeah, he's not because he came around and did Capone, and that also sucked.
Is that movie even on Disney Plus? Is the really bad Fantastic Four movie on Disney Plus?
The other question to ask, however, is was he making the movie he wanted to make, or was he?
It looks like he was making a movie by. It looks like he was making a movie by committee.
The stories I read about that movie is it was the worst of both worlds. He had a really strong vision that made absolutely no sense, and like didn't have much to do with the Fantastic Four as what Marvel wanted or Fox wanted. And then Fox was like, well, we want a movie that we can make a franchise with. And they both they butted heads, and that's the movie we got.
It actually is on Disney Plus.
It is? Okay.
I'll pass.
So I might look. No, I'm not going to look at it. But no, thank you guys. Thank you very much for coming to do this weekly roundup episode with. We'll be seeing you probably next week for a ranking show, the first ranking show of 2021. We still have to get one out. I was thinking comic book TV, but we don't have the MCU doesn't have a comic book show yet that's done enough so we can say we can rank it. But there's comic book TVs out, TV shows out. But yeah, so we'll figure something out. But no, thank you very much, Ray. Thank you very much, Roy.
Not a
We'll be seeing you in about a couple of weeks for another weekly roundup. Hopefully we can get enough headlines inside of 2 weeks to talk about
hopefully
stuff.
we can get enough headlines, and hopefully we can be more structured about it.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good.
All right.
Yeah.